What is up, YouTube? It's Ed here with episode 7 of the Halo series. So, this week, as I imagined, the entire episode is going to be, or was, is focused on Quanha in the story, since last week's episode was purely about Chief and Maki and whatever and all that crap. So, this week we get pretty much all of Madrigal and more diving into that story. And if you've been watching my series or my videos, I don't care about this story. But at the very least, this episode is at least still somewhat interesting because, instead of the kind of broken storytelling they were doing in the first 4 episodes, it's just all, you know, all in one into the story of Quan Ha. And arguably, it still kind of bugs me a little bit. Like the whole uh revolution or like freeing of Madrigal, and like I guess they dig more into the story of this time of like why the father is the main, I guess, like general or leader of the whole resistance. And also but doesn't really dive too much into why Quan Ha is still so gung-ho about it. um anyway, let's just get straight into the video. There are a few more Easter eggs in this episode than it was before, but I still, but it's overall it's like an okay video. I mean, okay episode at the end of the day. So first off, the first thing we get is like, for some reason, we get like a really random pick. Like it starts off with Quanha just talking about, or like it's a little bit into the past of this like random story of her meeting this kid who got killed in the first episode. I don't know why that mattered. But there's this whole scene, and then her driving away and into the storm to find the people that I guess gave her father the vision of that, like what he needs to do in terms of like be the resistance. Somehow at one point Sorin finds himself back in that asteroid belt home of his. I thought this was another flashback, but it wasn't. He's actually back here for whatever reason, and it gives a little tidbit about, I guess, the black market he runs, where this guy is his business partner, and he tries to double cross him, and then they go into this whole shenanigans of like, oh, this is why you should never cross me or whatever. And then it just and then that story just ends. And then eventually Quan Ha finds these Targaryen looking like people. Like that's the first thing that came to mind. I was like, are we watching Game of Thrones here? Like what's up with the crazy like House of Dragon like episode looking thing is going on here? So she gets picked up by these people, and then this dude, I forget his name, Fishin or whatever, is hunting Quan. And they're he's there's like the weirdest group of like villains. I don't even get what the deal with them is. And then so Quanha eventually, I don't this storyline doesn't even matter because it's just absolutely pointless. So she has this like vision of what is she supposed to do. She ends up, somehow Chief is in it, and they do this like one-on-one battle, which I thought was just like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, or it was kind of funny, I guess, because it's like she's just trying to hit him with all this stuff. First, it's like a chain, then like a gun, and like all these things, and just like the funniest part was like at one point she has a knife and she's just attacking his like chest plate like head on. I'm like, ah. I'm like, you see all these other parts or like joints where it's not armor covering, maybe you should stab there instead of straight into like the thickest part of what is the armor. But obviously it's all dramatic effect, it's not real. And it's just like her mind, I think it's like releasing the anger that she has for Spartans that killed her mother and whatnot, especially when it was Master Chief, most likely, or that's what they say anyways. Eventually, um I think they finally see. I think like she finally realized. I think they were supposed to work together or something. But here, I like this part. This looks like a little Easter egg. I can't tell exactly what that is, but kind of looks like a monitor from the Halo ring. Or what the Covenant call the Oracle. But these monitors, who are basically like custodians of Halo rings, it looks like that's what it is. It's too like it doesn't. We don't get a close up of it, and from here, it's a little hard to tell if it actually is because, um, if we were to actually um, look it up, or because if we were to look at an image of what they would look like from the game, I'm not sure if this really match. I mean, arguably, kind of matches. Like, the because the shape of it is not a full circle. Although from the side, it might be one, or it doesn't have that extra kind of hole into the side, but it has the eye that's in right in the middle. Like, so those things match up perfectly. So maybe it's like a redesign or different type of monitor, from maybe for whatever Halo ring. So I think it is one because, then also, Quanha's father talks about how this is like a portal or something to some uh another world. So I don't know if Quanha's going to take that and eventually find herself at another Halo, or at Halo with Master Chief, and that's how they like meet up again. So yeah. So maybe that's why, that's what he says here. It says, um, but yeah. So she kind of has this realization of what she needs to do, and then so she goes. For some reason, she goes back to her home. Not sure why, but almost immediately, she is found, or she's just like, I guess, like looking for some stuff, like guarding her dad and like the past. I wasn't, and next thing you know, Sorin comes back. At this point, I'm like, wait, so he went back to the Astra Belt, came back, and is now, still trying to fulfill his promise to John, or Master Chief, that he'll keep him safe. And but they also get caught up with the Vishen whatever rebel dude, who brings in like an army of these, like, of his gang members, and they're all using Vector SMGs. Like, I get it, like these, the Vector is like, it looks futuristic because of how it's designed and stuff, but it's just used way too often. And like, I don't know why they didn't just give all these guys UNSC weapons. Like, that is the main like those are the main weapons at this point in, this in 25 in the 26th century. So, and they already have the props. Like, they already have all the weapons from making it for the UNSC. Why can't you just, the prop master, give it to these guys? Like, why do they have to use this, like all these like different variations of the Vector, where like they have some short versions, they have some long barrel versions, but they're all the same weapon. So I'm like, why do you need to do this? And then they have this like futuristic SUV thing going on. Just give them warthogs, like whatever, dude. I don't know. Like, it's I feel like two different prop masters were working on on this TV show. Like, there was one that was for like the Halo guys, and then this another prop master who was like working on the magical stuff. And they're just like, you know what? Do whatever the hell you want, which is why we see AKs and like, these Vectors instead of UNSC weapons. They're just like, you know what? Like, we're gonna work on this, like, and clearly the prop master has never heard of Halo. He's like, all right, I'm just making it futuristic looking and make it look cool. All right, give me a Vector. Then that's what he did. And so obviously the battle starts, starts out in between them. And the one thing that I guess one thing that's doesn't really, I guess, make sense. So like, I know, okay, so Sorin, he's not a dropout. I mean, of being a um Spartan, he ran away. However, he still has the augmentations. Granted, like one of his arms is messed up, but he still has all the like most of the augmentation. So his strength should be like incredibly, you know, he's incredibly strong. Like compared to most humans, he still has some of the suit and he has some of the armor and whatnot. And like at this point, like he fights these like dudes here, and granted, he takes them out with relative ease, but he should be able to just lay them out like super easily, like because Spartans are super strong. Like they're compared to these types of guys. Like I mean, if you were to watch like the fall of Reach, like even at a young age, like a teenage John, when he after the enhancements, he's able to bench like 400-500 pounds. Like he is like, and with ease too. So like Soren should be significantly stronger than these mofo's, and he just be able to be like pow, like just smack him around like no other. But instead, like there's these scenes where he actually struggles against these guys when in reality he should just been like he should have no problem, like one punch, like bam, down. Like these guys are down for the count, like because I mean Master Chief is able to one smack like brutes and elites with like arguably very little trouble. Like there's no reason Soren can't do that too, unless a lot of that power is also from Mjolnir. If that's the case, then yeah, he should still be a lot stronger than these guys, but maybe not like a one hit, but at least two hits. Like he should be able to kick them and they'll go flying. They may not be dead after that, but they should like not. They should not give him so much trouble. Period. Um, yeah. Eventually, they blow up this whole facility just to kill, and I guess that's the end of like this whole bad dude. Like they blow up the facility, he gets engulfed in the flames of this whole thing, and I guess that's the end of him. He's gone. um and at this point I don't know what happens. Like I'm curious to what's going to happen next now, because it actually left a little bit of cliffhanger where okay, now between Sorin and Quanha, they're like they're just going to split up, and Soren's going to take his money and go back to the belt or whatever, the asteroid belt, and Quanha's gonna go do her thing, which I feel like Soren still needs to protect her, right? Like I don't know why like they're like calling it quits already. Um, it seems like his job is not over, but I mean he got paid or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense on why they're splitting up. I'm also curious to what happened to the rest of his armor. He left with the full suit of armor, so where the heck did the other parts go? Maybe he had to sell it. I don't know. But yeah, like overall, this episode was okay. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. Um, and like it actually the story was actually a little interesting. There was a little bit of a fight, or like action scene with this part where it was kind of nice seeing like Soren, even though he is a disgraced, or like he's a not disgraced, but like a Spartan runaway. He still has the skills as a Spartan. He is like just pow one shotting everybody left and right. The Oh yeah, other like little Easter eggs is that Quan Ha here, she finds a sticky or a plasma grenade, which he sticks to this dude, and he as you see here, it just sticks to his back. He can't get it, and he gets evaporated by the plasma grenade. So that was kind of cool. The other thing that was weird was when Quan Ha found Master Chief's assault rifle. First off, like the weird thing is like it has like his like Spartan number on it, which that as far as I know that's not a thing. Because like Spartans, they just grab whatever weapons are near them, and a lot of times they just have to, they like in all the video games, he wasn't like assigned an assault rifle. He just kind of grabbed whatever was around him because he was losing his weapons all the time, and he would always switch off. So you would always see in cutscenes someone just handing him a or assault rifle, but I guess this one is assigned to him or whatever. But it's also weird that Chief, I guess, like, we should have figured that from the first episode he didn't pick up the assault rifle after he threw it to the ground. I mean, in the real military, like, that's a big no-no. Like, you always bring back your weapons. You don't just like chuck it after you're like, even if it's empty. There's only like extreme consequences where for you to lose your weapons. So it's kind of weird for, I guess, like someone like Master Chief to just be like, yeah, I'm done with this assault rifle later. You know. But anyways, she finds the rifle, which still has bullets in it. I thought he threw it away because it was out, but I don't know. But he didn't ever picked it up either after the first episode. Like, he just left it there. Like, it's weird that he wouldn't go back and just bring it with him or something. So she has it now, which I guess, like, once her and Master Chief meet up, he would be like, "Oh, this is yours," and that's gonna get like another iconic scene of like, "Oh, I got my battle rifle back or assault rifle back." Yeah, like, you get that classic Chief and his assault rifle. Like, those are like an iconic duo. But yeah, so those are kind of all the Easter eggs I got. There's probably a little bit more that I miss, but overall, yeah, good episode, decent episode. Hopefully in the next episode we're gonna actually see what happens. We're gonna start seeing Halo, or maybe that's what, like, this first season is gonna end on. Is them gonna be on the first Halo ring. So, anyways, appreciate it. Thanks you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode, and yeah, we'll come back next week for the next episode. Take it easy.